Happy Hump Day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, we scrutinize, and we celebrate the rise of Skywalker 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
Come on. Hi, this is Tony Consiglio from StarWarsMinute.com/Toco, right?
Sure.
There we go.
That's
No,
it.
I
Welcome
got
back,
it.
Tony.
Sorry, guys. I was off by a few minutes, by a few seconds.
Tony, thank you for coming back
I'm
with us.
Let me adjust my chair. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
We are, of course, continuing to record in lovely Mesa, Arizona for all this week.
Ooh, Misa?
That's right, Pete Yusa. We're here to talk about minute number 13.
West Mesa.
West Mesa. Minute number 13 starts off with Rey chopping down the forest with Annie's lightsaber. And it ends a minute later with Rey telling CGI Leia that she was so distracted on the training course, she's just not blank.
It's not blank.
She's not blank.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out tomorrow what she is not, so get your answers ready, everyone. And let's start talking about minute number 13.
13. Boomerang lightsaber.
Oh, you're so close. The correct answer was boomerang laser sword.
Oh, there you go.
Why do they call it laser sword?
That's the product name as opposed to the brand name.
Right. It's the adhesive bandage.
I see. So it's not the Kleenex, it's the tissue.
Yes,
Right.
facial tissue.
The
Facial tissue.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yes, we've seen a couple of people throwing lightsabers over the years.
Yes.
Luke did it in Return of the Jedi, probably. Oh, no, Vader did it.
Vader did it.
In Return of the Jedi.
Vader did it.
And, yeah, so but this is the first time we've seen the boomerang action.
Yeah, it's a good... It's interesting because she, as I mentioned, she's working on her own lightsaber, but feels more comfortable with her staff still.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that for this, like when she kind of snaps back out of her distraction, she throws the lightsaber. It does this kind of boomerang action, but while the lightsaber is in midair, she grabs a stick and uses the stick to crush the droid. So it's like she reverts to her kind of pre-Jedi training, essentially.
I would think that if a Jedi could, I would think training with wood would be superior for Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like if you could get to the stage where you could use a piece of wood and fight someone with a lightsaber, that would prove you were really dominant. You know what I mean? You don't even need the technology of a lightsaber to
Right.
fight someone.
Right.
So
Then eventually, when you turn on the lightsaber, it's that much greater.
Yeah. You know she's going to wipe them all out.
Right.
exactly.
She's going to kill everyone.
She's a badass.
Well, speaking of that,
This is the minute where she's badass.
yeah, I was gonna say this is the scene where we see a bunch of quick flashbacks to stuff that
yeah.
went on, and there's also a couple of random things thrown in there. One of which is the Dark Ray. We get like one frame of the Dark Ray. Yeah, this was almost like the previously on Star Wars.
Yeah,
they show like Han Solo getting killed.
It felt very much. I'm like, oh yeah, we're early in the movie, so it makes sense of recapping.
Yeah.
Although it's also interesting because we saw, when last we saw Kylo Ren, he was talking to the zombie emperor, and he said like, "Oh, who is she?" And we can assume
She's
that then
beautiful.
after that, the emperor told Kylo Ren what she eventually finds out. What she is eventually told about her heritage.
Yeah, she'll be told later on.
She will be told that later on. Whether or not that's true is a different story, because here he's just passing on what he was told in little flashes. He's giving her a hint of what he knows now.
Kylo Ren is giving.
Kylo Ren. Sorry,
it.
yeah, let me use more antecedents here. Kylo Ren is kind of giving her flashes of what he just learned about her to kind of throw her off a little bit. But then she also turns it around a little bit, because they have that back and forth. Like, she's giving, Kylo Ren is giving like, oh, okay, hey, your parents I found out something about your parents. And then she's kind of flashing back. She's like, oh, yeah, parents. And like reminding him that he killed his and that, he was also an important mentor to her.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it does a good job of both filling us in on some stuff that we're supposed to remember and also kind of demonstrating their back and forth, their dyad force relationship.
Well, yeah, expanding on that, I was even wondering is this an intentional thing, or is this just like basically because they're this dyad and they were connected in the last movie? Is it almost like both of they're being like stored in the iCloud, and whatever she is, like their kind of thoughts kind of bleed into one another, almost unintentional, whether intentionally or not. I don't know if that's anyway.
Right. Yeah, a little bit like when they first meet and he's trying to extract the information from her, and all of a sudden he starts getting feedback, essentially force feedback, and he was just like, wait, why is that happening? And that extrapolating on that same thing,
force back,
that's what's happening. Yeah. Going back for a second to the before we leave the training sequence, I did want to I don't want to relitigate droid sentience, because we're not, we never came to a satisfying conclusion there anyway, but I don't want to bring it back up. But it's interesting, why do we feel bad for BB-8 getting hit with a log, but we don't feel anything about the seeker droid, the seeker remote, getting smashed through the face with a stick? It's like, oh no, BB-8, and then then it even cuts to, we see the seeker remote kind of in the foreground there.
Yeah.
And it's just doing my job.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
It's a living.
It was a living.
It was a living. Oh, it was a living. Rebuild me.
And they're both round shaped.
Yeah,
too,
they're both
so,
they're very similar.
Yeah.
Like it's just splitting hairs of the difference between these two.
I guess it's the same way we're willing to kill, like a cockroach. Ugh, let's kill that. But a butterfly, we're like, oh, this is a pretty thing. We shouldn't kill that.
Well, frankly,
they should be wiped out.
That's Butterfly Ball 8. That's what it stands for.
With the trees falling,
Elizabeth Taylor movie.
With the trees falling and all that, I would imagine BB-8 is kind of on his guard, and at that point anyway, she's like, she seems to have a problem with round droids. I better keep my distance.
He was like the well, plus you figure some animals probably got killed when she was wrecking all those trees too. They should have shown the baby squirrels that were like, because their mother got crushed.
Whole sub story of these birds in the nest as the mother is feeding them, and then this whole tree just comes down.
And they're like, Ray, can't you feel the squirrels all suffering?
I don't feel it, and they just cut to Kylo Ren, and he's just like,
he's crying.
He's crying.
Although I'm extrapolating now. What if we kept going with this, and the more that she kept hitting round things with sticks, and then eventually she invents baseball.
Oh, we're double Ray.
Right. And it's baseball 8. That's what she meant.
Oh, wow.
But yes, then we elsewhere on the planet.
Meanwhile, at the Tantive 4.
Yes, and it is the actual Tantive 4.
That's right.
I don't know if they explicitly say that in the movie. If we ever we just see that hey, there's a blockade runner, but
I would call that like a level 3 reference. Like casual people might not get that it's, but people who know Star Wars, because it's literally the first ship we ever saw involved in a Star War.
Right.
The very first ship we ever saw was the Tantive 4. So.
And
that's big.
We don't stop the movie to be like, there's the ship. It's just kind of like in the background. Although, again, I'm gonna go back to the movie, to the novelization.
Going back to the movies?
Going back to the movies. We'll see you guys later.
America's going back to the movies.
In somehow, the Tantive 4 just feels right in a place like this. But the in the novelization, and I think in earlier drafts, it was more because you remember last week we talked about when they first get to the mining colony, they get to the Santa Claus mines. What is that called?
Ice World.
Yeah.
Cinta Ice World, Cinta Station, something like Grand Cinta Station.
Grand Cinta Station. When they first get there,
let it go,
and they find Bulio. They're like, oh, did you get that compressor or whatever? And he's like, no, like I got a spy. There's a spy. So the backstory on that is that they've been looking for a part that they need to fix the Tantive 4 because it is like we were saying, old technology. and it's hard to find replacement parts. And so he tracked down a part that they need. He told them, I got that part that we were looking for. It's super cheap. You got to come pick it up in person. So they show up and they're like, all right, did you get the part? And he's like, no, I have a message that I couldn't
It was a bait.
broadcast.
Okay.
But he doesn't have the part. So they don't get the compressor for the Tantive V4. But they're that's the whole thing. They're trying to fix it up and use it. Presumably because they don't have a lot of resources. So they're going back to find their old, went to the garage and got the car that they last parked. When did we last see it?
Last time we saw it was in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, the Empire
the
had
original.
It was inside of a Star Destroyer last time we saw it.
Yeah. Well, according to the Wikipedia, they all believed it was shortly after the events of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently in the comics or one of the novelizations, there's a scene where Bail Organa is learning that the Tantive 4 is presumed lost and destroyed.
Right.
And I don't know if that's part of the distress signal fake distress signal that Darth Vader ordered them to send out.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But then apparently someone found it somewhere and then alerted Princess Leia that they had found the Tantive 4. Hence where we are now.
And that was
found
in
your
the
car.
novelization?
That I learned on the Wikipedia.
Oh, on Wikipedia.
But I don't know. I didn't know where That's one drawback I think to Wikipedia is there should be
clearer citations of where things
tell you
come
where
from.
this happened.
Where? Okay.
Right.
Cite, as opposed to just a list of the things at the end because you
Right.
don't know. I have to read 20 different children's novelizations to
Right,
find
right.
out. Anyway, anything else about the Tantive V4? I like the Tantive V4.
I do. I like it
I think
too.
it's a great ship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ominous.
Ominous? An ominous ship?
It's an ominous ship.
So now we're back with the full Rebel cadre, right?
Mhm.
We see everybody.
The main headquarters.
Outdoors.
Outdoors.
Not Rebel. The Resistance.
The Resistance.
The Resistance cadre. Sorry, everybody just yelled at me.
It's very outdoorsy.
Yeah. Well, it's what they like to do. It's like again, like Yavin and I think Dantooine was fairly similar. I think they have a.
But Yavin was like inside of a structure.
Well, the hangar was. Yeah, that's true.
This is just so they're just kind of like it's
And,
like an RV.
I mean,
they're
even going
camped
back
down
to,
around an RV.
So what's it called? Where was the Resistance base? At the end of Force Awakens, the beginning of Rise of Skywalker.
I have a feeling you're.
Beginning of Last Jedi.
It was a similar type of planet. The one that was blown up by. No, it wasn't blown up by Starkiller Base. It was saved from being blown up by Starkiller Base.
Yes.
They fled it at the beginning of
Last Jedi.
Yes.
And I can't remember
Anyone who knows it is already yelling at us now, so let's just assume that we are not going to get it rather than spend 5 minutes stumbling around.
The Rebels have a type. Or the Rebels / Resistance, they have a type when it comes to planets.
Hoth,
and maybe it's
the
Leia.
outlier of their bases.
Mm-hmm.
Leia was like, I'm never going back to an icy planet again. My clothes still haven't dried.
You think the guy who picked Hoth got fired?
I was Reichian. I think that's why they left him behind.
Hey, you love this place? Great.
Why don't you marry? So long, sucker.
He actually had a line of coats, and he's trying to sell his stuff. He's just like, guys,
you happen to have a bunch of winter clothes.
Yeah, I have
that
a lot of
sell.
winter clothes for you guys. Don't worry about it. We'll be taken care of. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's like real. I can give it to you real cheap too.
If they look back at the Rebels' history, a lot of it seems to have to do with businesses that that Reichian is about to start. They were on Dantooine, and then he's like, he bought a bunch of land in Yavin. He's like, it would be a great place to have our next base, Yavin. All right, let's go.
I can get you a deal.
It used to be a Sith temple, huh? Well, you mentioned Princess Leia.
I did.
Yes, about her picking rebel bases and whatnot, and just some things that might have been lost, might have been now forgotten from history, is that there was a lot of speculation as to how they were going to handle the unfortunate passing of Carrie Fisher in this movie. Were they going to go, because we had just seen a CGI Princess Leia in Rogue One, so were they going to go that route? I remember Meryl Streep was at one point.
Oh, right.
Because I guess she was friends with Meryl Streep, and so
Right.
said Meryl Streep would come in and pinch hit. What would you guys think about that? If Meryl Streep had shown up as?
I think it would have been too distracting.
Yeah.
because it's just someone different, or because it's Meryl Streep?
Because it's Meryl Streep.
Right.
If they picked an unknown, it would be less of a shock.
like a Carrie Fisher, someone who looks a lot like
someone
Carrie
who
Fisher.
looks a lot like Carrie Fisher, I think would work
Right.
a lot better. Because at least you'd be like, is that her? Because some
Yeah.
people might question whether it was her or not.
Yeah.
Where Meryl Streep will like, oh, that's Meryl Streep
Yeah.
with dye
Right.
job.
Right. Although there's a certain kind of not irony, but it's kind of like because didn't Meryl Streep play the Carrie Fisher character
Yeah.
in Postcards?
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
very true. Yeah.
And so it's
That
like,
would
oh,
be
this is
fun.
the movie version
That
of Carrie
would have
Fisher.
been
wow.
fun.
So like the movie version of Carrie Fisher can play.
And now that I think about it, it actually would have been fun if Meryl Streep played it, because it's very soap opera anyway, and they
Right,
do
yeah.
that in the soap operas all the time.
Yeah.
They change out actors for other actors.
I think we just need to rip off the Band-Aid and recast a bunch of characters, and so everybody can stop complaining about it. They should just do one throwaway episode. Just do a Star Wars movie where they recast all the original characters, but make it like not very good intentionally. A lost leader.
Like BB-8 will be played by Danny DeVito.
Well, now you're making it good.
Yeah,
just
that's
running,
one of those.
just running.
That's one of those things that actually, but sounds better than.
Yeah.
than,
No, we want good casting,
Yeah.
but we want the plot and the action to be mediocre at best.
Why?
Because then everybody can hate on that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll reset the bar so low that then when
That's
they
true.
make the next one with the same cast, when everybody can get over their casting anxiety about this, then they'll make the next one, and it'll be like, well, it's better than that last one, and everybody will be more positive about it, and you'll just grow to accept that cast because it's just like, oh well, yeah, they were given that terrible movie. So you need to throw one out there. You need to sacrifice one movie.
You're saying they
Get
need
everybody.
to do, but well, it's not quite the same analogy. I was going to say you. I know you're a big fan of those seasons on Saturday, those rebuilding years on Saturday Night
Oh, yeah.
Live with like Robert Downey Jr. and
That's
Giselle,
what you
yeah.
need to do, yeah. So throw that in there. So have a.
do a Star Wars movie that's so bad that anything else will look good in comparison.
I guess maybe that's so. Maybe double. So maybe don't retain that cast.
Yeah.
Do one with terrible casting, then do another one with
Yeah.
the better cast, and everybody will be like, "Oh, yeah, this like, new coke it a little bit." You know what I mean?
They finally got it.
This really makes me sad for the fact that Padme, I mean, it's sad on a few levels that Padme and Leia never got to have a personal relationship, but now it really makes me sad because it would have been great if they actually did mimic the relationship between Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like that complicated relationship. So, but yeah. Anyway. And also, of course, everyone was saying that episode 9 was supposed to be the Leia-centric of
Right.
the three. You know, the first one, I guess, was Han-centric. The second one was Luke-centric. And then this one would have been Leia-centric. So it's extra, what ifs as to what the movie
Yeah.
would have been.
Yeah.
So, anyway, well, I guess on that happy note, we'll wrap up minute number 13.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, you have anything else for minute number 13?
No, with the CGI being as it is, I guess they can reshoot it and have
Have Debbie Reynolds
have
play
Debbie
Padme.
Reynolds.
Man, her midriff looks pretty good.
I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you would have to do the CGI young. You know, it would have to be Singing in the Rain era Debbie Reynolds in the
Right.
prequels, and then move her forward in time. Although I guess Padme only would have been. She would have been like 40 years old in Star Wars. You know what I mean? If she was still alive, she wasn't.
No, a little bit. Oh, maybe. Yeah.
It's anyway.
Yeah, she was pretty young.
Yeah, she was only like 8 years older than Anakin, little
Right.
Annie. Anyway,
She would have had a lot more kids too, probably.
you think? I guess
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't know.
We don't know.
Totally
now.
different world.
Yeah, that is a
Mm.
different. That's a
Yeah.
tangent.
Oh man, imagine if imagine it had worked out and they had like 13 kids and they were all in the Jedi Council,
they're
like the whole Jedi
wow,
Council
yeah.
except for Anakin.
That's it.
He's the only one not allowed on the
Wow.
on the thing. So anyway, Skywalker is all the way down, and we want to hear from you, dear listeners. That's right. Yes, I'm talking to you. We have set up a hotline. So I'm only giving it to you. Do not share it with anyone. 8-day
Please.
8-day DAYGREEDO 8-day Greedo. Call that number. Let us know what you think about some aspect of Rise of Skywalker. Do you like BB-8? Are you opposed to him in general? How does
But wait, don't just call up and say how much you hate it without just
No.
saying.
No,
you
no.
know, if you have things, specific things, that you want to talk about that are
Be
interesting,
constructive.
but don't just be like, oh, I hate this part. Why did they do
Yeah.
this? That's not creative.
You don't think if you got to call someone just being like, I hate BB-8, I hate Rey, I hate Poe Dameron, and they just literally spent 3 minutes just sitting and mentioning everything, you wouldn't run that
Right.
one?
I would fast forward through that call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
You don't want to start off a podcast with 3 minutes of someone just
No,
talking
right.
about how much they hate someone. So anyway, what we do want to do is hear from you. Call 8-Day Greedo. Leave us a short, ideally funny or clever take on Star Wars. And then join us here tomorrow for another minute of Star Wars Minute.